August 6, 1945, began as a normal day for 13-year-old Shigeko Sasamori. She walked to school alongside her classmate, making small talk about the nice weather and clear skies. The sound of a B-29 airplane flying overhead interrupted their chatter, but this was nothing out of the ordinary, and Shigeko even admired how pretty the plane looked in the blue sky. Suddenly, she spotted a white parachute dropping down from the plane, and before she could even process what happened, she was thrown to the ground by an intense force. When Shigeko awoke, the city she once knew was obliterated with only the rubble in place of the buildings. Her classmate was nowhere to be found, and the people surrounding her were screaming out of pain, and many were severely burned or disfigured. Shigeko was able to get help at a makeshift medical center and lived to tell the horrific story of what happened on August 6th. However, she and many of those who survived bore physical reminders of the day in the scars and disfigurement of their bodies. Shigeko would continue to be in and out of hospitals to treat her wounds for the next 10 years and would suffer greatly because of this. The loneliness that came with being disfigured and injured as a Hibakusha, also known as survivor, took its toll on her, but unfortunately and fortunately, in some way, she was not alone. Reverend Kiyoshi Tanimoto created a support group for young women like Shigeko who were left with lasting injuries which allowed for comfort and solidarity with one another. The group began to be known as the Keloid Girls, which referred to the keloid scars they had received from radiation burns. Reverend Tanimoto sought to find help for these girls in the United States, where the technology of plastic surgery and skin grafting was much farther advanced than Japan, and connected with Norman Cousins in 1951 to formulate a project for them. Cousins was one of the most outspoken advocates about the lasting impact of the United States' violence in Japan during World War II. And Tanimoto believed that this could help garner support for the keloid girls' treatment in the United States. Thus began the project of the Hiroshima Maidens, which was a new name given to the girls that had a softer, less graphic description of who they were. The Hiroshima Maidens project would send these 25 girls, now in their 20s, to New York Mount Sinai Hospital to receive plastic surgeries. The project began in May 1955, nearly 10 years after the bombing occurred. Their arrival was broadcast nationally through a TV program called This Is Your Life, just a week after they came to New York City. The focus of the television program on this project was revealing of the American mindset surrounding the Hiroshima Maidens project at the time, as although the Americans on the show apologized for the handling of the bomb and the whole situation, it created an awkward tension and nearly romanticized the destruction the Japanese faced during the war. In this clip, you can clearly see the general disrespect that the Hiroshima Maidens faced on this show, and how uncomfortable Reverend Tanimoto was with it.
45. The Japanese people have built a new city. But 10 years later, all is not forgotten. There's still very visible signs of that terrible day which stands as living reminders of what atomic power can do. Dr. Green, you had something to say to us about this.
Tanimoto decided to do something about that, Mr. Edwards. Organize some help for these girls who had been students together and whose bodies had been badly disfigured and maimed, and he felt that to bring them to the United States was where they could get plastic surgery and help them alleviate some of their suffering.
Yes. Isn't it true, Dr. Green, that much medical research is being done by our own government as well as the Japanese government at Hiroshima?
Yes, that's quite true, but that research has taken the direction of diagnosis rather than of actual treatment to bring about recovery.
Thank you, Dr. Green. So with the help of a committee composed of such people as Norman Cousins, John Hersey, Pearl Buck, Dr. Green here and others, the Hiroshima Peace Center Associates is formed. What is its purpose, Reverend Tanimoto?
To help social rehabilitation of Hiroshima.
I see. Yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Monday, May 9th, 25 girls from Hiroshima arrived in New York City via U.S. Army transport. They're being treated surgically at Mount Sinai Hospital at absolutely no cost. Tonight, we would like you to meet two of these girls. Both have lived through the terror of an atomic bombing. To avoid causing them any embarrassment, we'll not show you their faces. May I present Miss Takoya Minowa and Miss Todaka Emori.
私たちはアメリカに来ることができ本当に幸せです。そして皆様が私たちにしてくださることを感謝しています。
They said they're happy to be in America and thank the United States for what they're doing now for them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have more to say about this important project in the next few moments. I know that you want to relax for just a moment.
Although their appearance on the show did gain a lot of attention for the project, the way in which it sensationalized suffering was disrespectful to the victims. It was more about making Americans feel better for what occurred in August 1945 than actually working towards repair and healing, which is indicative of the greater reception of the Hiroshima Maidens project by Americans. The story of the Hiroshima Maidens is important to remember from both the Japanese and American perspectives, as it allows one to see the horrors of atomic war, as well as the reaction of Americans to such horrors. And looking at these women's experiences specifically shows how gendered the perception of suffering was at this time, since their femininity was constantly emphasized in both the appearance on the This Is Your Life episode, as well as the news articles which were written about them. Their beauty, or damaged beauty, was another aspect of this focus, and this turned things away from the horrors of war and more looked to give these women a second chance at being seen as beautiful. This emphasis almost claims that these women were deserving of treatment more than others on account of their gender, and diminishes one's worth to their physical appearances in some ways. The Hiroshima Maidens returned home to Japan safely in 1956, following over 140 operations between the 25 of them. Some were welcomed with open arms, while others were seen as U.S. sympathizers upon return to Japan. However, all did live with the continued stigma of being a Hibakusha, and until years passed, they were only viewed for their trauma instead of their personhood, despite having received these multiple surgeries. Some of the girls returned to the United States, and although their exact stories are mostly lost to time, it's generally because they did not publicly speak on their experience. However, one of the maidens that returned to the United States, and is most well known for her accounts today, is Shigeko Sasumori. Shigeko kept in touch with Norman Cousins, and when she returned to the United States to study nursing, she actually lived as his adoptive daughter with him and his family. Shigeko's testimonies are the most accessible to Americans, as there is no need for translation for most of them, since the majority are entirely in English. Additionally, her testimonies are intriguing, as she stayed connected to Norman Cousins following the project. Shigeko continues to be active in the community today, even at her age of 90, and advocates for younger generations on why nuclear weapons are harmful to the human race. As recent as 2016, she spoke to a press conference advocating against nuclear weapons and power being used in the United States, and until the pandemic was active in speaking at universities about such matters. The story of Shigeko Sasumori and the other Hiroshima Maidens continues to matter today, since several of these women are still alive and dealing with the effects of the atomic bomb. They were unable to live their life to the fullest on account of such a horrific form of war, and experienced continued stigma about something they had absolutely no control over. The reaction in the United States to ignore this catastrophic event they directly caused for the first 10 years following the detonation of the bomb is something that should also be remembered. And additionally, the trivialization of Japanese experiences from World War II as portrayed in the Hiroshima Maidens coverage in American media. To close the short history of the Hiroshima Maidens project is a clip from Shigeko in 2019 on why she continues to advocate for the remembrance of her story and the end of nuclear weapon use.
Especially students, young people, they have a brain, energy, young, and they are powerful. they had a big future waiting for them. Ask them to help this earth world. This world is not happy world. Most important thing is I don't want to same kind of people which Hiroshima, Nagasaki people go through. Never happened. No more atomic bomb, no more nuclear weapon, no more war. Please do much you can, whatever you can to help peaceful things. だからにして